Hi, I'm Brenda, and you're listening to the Little Kingdom Warriors podcast, where we help our kids discover God through play. Are you overwhelmed by the weight of your never-ending list of things to do, but desperately want to invest in your kids' faith life? Are you tired of the same old colouring sheets and seemingly lifeless Bible stories that you're even struggling to sound enthusiastic about? Well, I'm here to help. I'm a lover of all things creative, an ex-primary school teacher turned stay-at-home mum and follower of Jesus. Let's walk this path together and transform our kids' lives with new and exciting ways to explore the Bible and help them become God's little kingdom warriors. We might not have it all together, but with God, and maybe a strong coffee or two, we've got this. Well, I'm not sure if you can hear that funny whirring in the background, but that is our new incubator that's running. We have got 15 little chicken eggs in there, and we are crossing all our fingers and toes and hoping that something hatches, because I have got a couple of very excited kids hoping that these little eggs will hatch. They've been saying goodnight to them and singing Jesus Loves Me to these eggs, so these are very loved little eggs that I've got in my room with me where I'm recording. Today I'm going to be bringing you a real life recap. This is the July edition. Here where we live at the moment, we are busy packing up, getting ready to head to the farm shortly, so we've got a date in mind. I'm hoping that I can stick to it. I'm feeling incredibly overwhelmed with the vast sheer amount of stuff I have to do. There is just so much to do, and I suppose it's also highlighting to me all of my flaws. With a great big flashlight, I feel like all of my flaws are being highlighted because I don't feel like I've been the most patient mother ever. So saying all that, I have read and got some really helpful feedback from some of you lately, and it's just been around things that you've been struggling with, what you maybe want to see in the podcast, and a lot of the things you are going through. And some of the responses tugged on my heartstrings because I have felt the exact same way. So the responses that I'm referring to, if you're in my Facebook group, you would know that I put a form in there, Google form, where you can fill out some information for me. It can remain completely anonymous, and it just helps me work out where you're struggling, where I can help you at as well, and also give me some ideas on things that might be helpful to do an episode on. And a lot of these responses kind of tugged on my heartstrings because I know that I've felt the same way. And some of the responses made me think that you feel like you are the only one struggling with that issue, but you most certainly are not. So one of the things that came up, and it seems to be a recurring theme, and I know it's something that I've struggled with too, and I'm sure many, many mums struggle with this too, and it's feeling like you are a failure and that you have messed everything up and that somehow you've wrecked your kids. And I had a helpful and timely reminder this evening from a friend, and she was saying that her kids are pretty much growing up. Well, they're teenagers and beyond. And she was saying that your kids won't remember all the times that you failed. She said that there were times where she would say sorry at bedtime for something that had happened in a way that she'd wronged her kids. And by the morning, they'd forgotten completely about it. Today, this evening, I lost my cool. The toys are just driving me bananas at the moment. And I feel like my stress level is just already quite high because I'm packing and I'm stressed and I'm acutely aware of how little time I have. And not only that, kids weren't listening, being disobedient, etc. But I also know that in myself that I overreacted, so I felt like I was too harsh on them. So I ended up apologising to them because I felt like I had been unfair. And I do feel like that's important to do. So, maybe you come from maybe perhaps in your upbringing, you had an angry household. Perhaps you had parents who you feel were over the top and they were too harsh. But you know what? Parenting is a hard gig, and I think that one of the most important things that we can do is to help our kids realize that we are human, and that in our failings and in everything that we get wrong, we need God. In our weakness, we need God, and that we can still be loved by God even when we make mistakes. I feel like these moments can be some of the most impactful. We won't always act the way that we should. We won't always be that patient, loving parent that we want to be, and we're never going to be perfect, but I feel like it's what we do with those failures. They can be some of the most teachable moments, rather than making out to our kids like we have everything together. Because if we do have everything together, do we really need God at all? So something that I've felt like I heard God say to me was when I was struggling and feeling this overwhelm, I was feeling like I heard this little voice in my head saying, it's because you're trying to do it all in your own strength. And this verse came to mind, and it's Matthew 11 verses 28 to 30. And it says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So a reminder to you is that you don't have to carry this burden and this heaviness on your own. You don't have to carry the weight of motherhood, because there is a real weight in motherhood. There is a lot of responsibility on our shoulders to think that we have these kids in our care, and we have this opportunity, this divine moment in time where we can really impact them for eternity. It is a weight. It can be a weight, but God doesn't want us to carry that weight all by ourselves. So I just want to encourage you that, do you know what? Everybody has failed at some point in time, but we don't have to stay in that place of dwelling in our failures. We can bring it to God and ask Him to help us show our kids that even though we have failed, we are sorry, and that we need Him in our lives. And it's what we do with those moments, and those moments where we make mistakes, that matter. It's not really all about the way that we have failed. I hope that this helped you in some way, shape or form. It's a relatively short episode today. Don't forget that you can hop on over to my Facebook group. I have the form that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. I will link that in the show notes as well. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye. Hey friends, if this podcast encouraged you or made an impact on you in some way, I would be so grateful if you could take a minute to leave a review to help other people find my show. Don't forget to click subscribe so you are the first to know when a new episode airs. Hop on over and join my free Little Kingdom Warriors Facebook community, which I will link for you in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and God bless. I'll see you next time.